Hi, I'm Debbie Moraes, and this is Legal Matters, the program that's designed to address some of the critical, sometimes contentious issues that are facing consumers and residents and businesses. It's legal information, practical solutions, and straight talk about a wide variety of topics, from finance and family law to Social Security, workers' compensation, and more. Very recently, we discussed the 14th Amendment, the guarantee of birthright citizenship. Are you really legal if you were just born on this American soil? What's its impact on immigration? Today, a different topic, also aligned with the amendment, this time the First Amendment and the one of freedom of speech. So today the argument is, what's pornography? What's freedom of speech about? It includes pornography, obscenity, even harassment. What is it? What do you do about it? So, of course, in the news, as we often try to be very relevant, child pornography certainly is a headliner of the news. What is pornography? What is all of this? So to discuss some of these topics, as we usually welcome our lawyers, we have many questions for our lawyers. Odette Bazar, Grasso Law Firm in East Providence. Once again, we welcome Jackie Grasso and David Bazar. Boy, we have plenty to talk about.
Heavy subject.
Yeah. Pornography is supposed to be legal, but it isn't always legal. Technically, I guess I can buy it, I can look at it, I can publish it, I can make it, but sometimes I can't. What's the law?
Well, are you referring to the child pornography?
Pornography, when can't you? When does it cross the line? What is this?
We have state laws in Rhode Island that says if you use a minor under the age of 18 for any filming of acts, sexually explicit acts, then that's a definition of child pornography. It's a publication or distribution of obscene, indecent, or harmful materials to minors. So again, it applies for children under the age of 18, and of course there are severe criminal penalties attached.
Right, and so the question you asked was a little more broad.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And it's probably more difficult to define obscenity in general than child pornography, because child pornography is pretty black and white. It's a child used, or the image even, because now with computers you can generate images that you might not have been able to do many years before that looks like a minor child. And even if it's just the image of a minor child, according to our statute, that could be a violation of the child pornography statute. So if it's a person under the age of 18 involved in any sexually explicit, and then the statute goes on to define what that means, whether it's oral or otherwise sexual contact, I should say, then that is a violation of the child pornography statute.
I gather that obscenity means it refers to things that are prohibited and some things that are permitted, but when they talk about obscenity and they say that it's considered disgusting, foul, or morally unhealthy, who sets that standard?
Well, that goes way back to cases before the United States Supreme Court. There was Roth versus the United States, which then was broadened a little bit, or narrowed. The definition of obscenity was narrowed by Miller, the Miller case in 1973 with the state of California. I think most of the states have laws that model that. You know, I mean, pornography simply is just obscene material, sexually explicit obscene material. So how do you define pornography? How do you define obscenity? And what's legal to distribute, what's not legal to distribute? So you have to look at the state laws.
The statute in Rhode Island looks at a community standard, and it says that the trier of fact, the jury, or the judge of the judges sitting without a jury, has to look at what is the standard of acceptability, if you will, in the community, and in communities defined as the state of Rhode Island and Providence plantations in the statute. So that's what the standard's supposed to derive from, what the community accepts. The Supreme Court case, I think it might have been one of the ones Jackie was referring to, the judge said, I can't tell you what it is, but I know what it is when I see it.
Seems pretty arbitrary, though, doesn't it?
Well, there's like a three-pronged test. It basically says they apply contemporary community standards, as David said. So if the material predominantly appeals to the prurient interest, I think we all know what that is, whether or not it lacks serious literary or artistic or political value, and then does it describe explicitly nudity, sex, or anything that's offensive.
So is that pornography?
That's the definition of obscenity. So how does that overlap with the pornography?
Right. Well, and that's interesting. So that's why I said child pornography, very easy to say black and white what it is and when you violate it. And of course, Jackie had mentioned that with child pornography, there's different types of things you can do to violate the statute. If you produce it, distribute it, that's one penalty, or the penalty for those types of things is, in Rhode Island, a fine up to $5,000, up to 15 years in prison. If you simply possess it, and let's suppose you're doing an internet search and it pops up on your computer. Not something you were looking for, it's there. The statute says if you possess more than 3 photographs or images of child pornography, you violated the possession law, which is up to 5 years in prison and up to a $5,000 fine. So simple possession of it can be a penalty. The statute does give you some ways to get yourself out of it if it was an innocent possession of it. If your computer popped it up on your screen and you delete it right away and notified the authorities that this happened, you're safe.
It brings to mind a couple of different questions that had come up. One, I think we addressed earlier when we were talking about children and sexting. But when there was a reference about some freshman girls who were sending naked pictures of themselves to their boyfriends who were in a senior class, some of them may be underage, some of them were 17 or 18. If those boys passed them along and it was the girlfriend and they're underage, when is it, I don't know, maybe it's obscene, maybe it's lewd, when is it pornography? And if that 18-year-old happened to circulate it in the internet to a couple of his other buddies who are 21, do you now have child porn? Where does this
definitely, that's why it's very important to educate especially minors what you're going to be sending over the internet. If it's a lewd or lascivious picture of a minor, then sending it over the internet is like distributing it in public or selling it in public, because that is considered a child pornography.
That's exactly what we talked about when we handled that sexting topic a little while ago. And it not only is the possession, which was the initial penalty for the boy who received it, but when he now transfers it to his friends, he's distributing.
Be charged with distribution.
Which is that enhanced penalty of 15 years in prison.
What do you do if you're the parent and you see that your child has it on his computer, or it was on the cell phone and then it went to the computer, or whatever, however that circulates? What do you do?
If I was a parent, I wouldn't allow the child on the computer, period. I would delete everything off the computer.
Deleting it would be the first thing.
I wouldn't
a long discussion with the child would be the second thing.
What happens with this? One writes, my child told me that his teacher was looking at some inappropriate pictures on the computer. What should I do? I don't know what inappropriate is. Suppose that was obscene, or maybe it was child porn, but what do you do when that happens?
So this is a child saying...
A child tells mom
that her teacher
was looking at some inappropriate pictures on the computer.
Right.
Well, I think you need to have, if it disturbs the parent enough, you need to contact the school department, preferably, I would say, the principal of the school, and have a discussion with the principal.
Right. It's a couple of different things that you're raising there, I think.
Because we don't know what
was inappropriate anyway.
What was inappropriate.
Yeah, and was it a science project that she had a model of a human being, or a sexual education class, right? Sex ed, they might have some things that have a purpose. Now, go back to the statute. Obviously, it's not minors, it's not child pornography, but as Jackie read you the definition of obscenity, for example, and pornography I think would probably follow suit, is there a scientific purpose? Now, the teacher has something on her computer that may, at first glance, appear to be pornography, but might be something that is really scientifically necessary to teach, then that you have to look at that as part of the definition.
Goes back to the biology books.
Right.
What we see in the biology books.
Yep.
What happens with what's considered to be First Amendment, and pornography is not all, as we said, not all pornography is illegal. Obscenity is illegal, or is it just a matter of it being bad taste, which you can't really legislate?
Again, you go back to that three-pronged test.